My knee was hurting considerably, particularly when I went out walking and hiking, which is something I enjoy a lot, and it was something I do a lot to keep fit and healthy. So it was certainly ironic that my knee, particularly this one here, my left one, was hurting, especially when I was going downhill. It was getting to the stage where it was actually making it nigh on impossible to do a lot of hill walking, particularly on the downhill stretches. Well, when I came to physiotherapy, I'd already done some research myself, so I'd started to use trekking poles, and quite frankly, they've been fantastic. And I do recommend anybody who does walking, or particularly downhill walking, to use trekking poles, because they've made such a difference. Putting that extra weight onto the trekking poles. But when I first came, I was still worried that my knees were hurting a lot despite using the trekking poles. So I was trying to find whether there were some exercises that I could do that would strengthen that knee, just make it more bearable to do the kind of physical exercise I enjoy doing that's supposed to be good for me. They were quite hard to start off with, because what you're doing is putting an awful lot, what seemed to be an awful lot of pressure on this knee by a lot of the bending and swinging exercises, and I hated doing them, I must confess, to start off with. But I persevered. I mean, the physiotherapist told me to just do a little at a time. So I tried not to overdo it, just doing a little at a time. And I found it was easiest to do perhaps when I was either listening to music or watching television, something that would distract me a bit from the banality of doing some of these knee exercises. I didn't notice any improvement straight away when I was doing these exercises, but gradually, after a while, I was noticing it was certainly helping on some of the hill walking I was doing up in South Wales. I still need the trekking poles, and I would advise anybody to use those trekking poles, but it has strengthened, it's made my thigh muscles stronger, and I think that's what's helped. And also at the same time I've gone back to doing cycling, and that has done a lot to strengthen my upper thigh muscles, so it's made it stronger to take some of the weight off the knees. Oh, the cycling is much more enjoyable because it's something I quite like doing, and it's a contrast to walking, because certainly if you're cycling along canals and such like, which I find a little bit boring to walk along, you're going quite fast along those, and you don't actually really notice that you're exercising, but it has made a difference to the strength of my thighs, which in turn, and I hadn't appreciated it until I've gone back to doing some hill walking, that it has made a difference to the pain that I was experiencing. I'm not saying it's gone away completely, but it's certainly got a lot easier. I would still do, I don't do as many of the knee exercises I did before, but it certainly works in tandem with the cycling and doing some of the particularly focused exercises on the knee. Have I got any concerns into the future? I think as I get older, I'm anxious to keep fit, because what I don't want to do is find that I actually end up not doing the kind of walking and cycling that I enjoy doing. So for me, it's trying to keep those knees reasonably in good condition and flexible, because I don't want to stop being active. That would be terrible. My knee is better than it was when I first started to come to physiotherapy, but I'm conscious if I haven't done some walking or cycling for a while, it starts to play up slightly again. So certainly what I've learned from this is, just because it hurts, don't stop doing the exercises. I think what my physiotherapist said was right. If it hurts a lot, don't just try and exercise through the pain. You have to ease off and do it in manageable chunks. But certainly it has got easier, and I'd recommend doing the exercises, even though they can seem a little challenging to start off with. My advice for anybody who has that kind of is to walk. Certainly try doing some walking where you're going uphill and down, because uphill is good for you anyway because it increases your heart rate. But try and do some downhill, but by all means use trekking poles. It's not a sign of weakness. I mean, I wish I'd used them in my 20s, quite frankly. Use those and try cycling. If you don't fancy doing cycling out on the road, there are plenty of really good cycle paths and canal paths around about that keep you safe. Or alternatively, try static cycling in a gym or in a sports centre. I think with my experience in my knees, it can be quite upsetting, the pain, and you just fear it's going to get worse to the extent that you could suddenly become quite disabled and not be able to function. But if you start tackling it at an early stage, or even at a later stage, it can get better, or certainly you can improve it, and it's worth persevering to do that.